Over the past few years, I think we can agree that content creation has become an integral part of business and influence this day and age. And that is why in today's video, I plan to show you how to become a content creator step by step. Even if you're just a beginner, this is what you need to know if you want to become a content creator in 2026. Hi, I'm Gloria, and let's get to it. Now, the first thing we need to talk about is clarity, because if you're starting content creation, you have to be really clear on what you want to do and why you actually want to do it. So the first thing you have to do is to figure out what is your identity. And here, the exercise you're going to do is you're going to ask yourself, what exactly do I want to be known for? And you have to really clearly define what exactly you want to be known for, in terms of, is it an industry you want to be known for? Is it a specific personality you have that you want to be known for? Or is it a skill set that you have that you really want to be known for? Because it's very essential you set the expectation, because the people you are going to attract, who are going to become your audience and possibly also become your clients, they really need to know you're good at what you claim to be good at in your content creation. Then once you've defined what your identity is, you really need to sit down and reflect, or rather ask yourself the following questions. Is this something that you are creating content about, something that you actually are an expert in or have some level of expertise in? Is whatever you're creating content about something you're curious about? Or is whatever you're creating content on something that you are open to learning about? And in terms of experimentation, this is not something this is not something that is going to be limiting your experimentation and your creativity, because essentially you have to define what you can stick to the long term. Because content creation, I'm not gonna lie, it's going to start giving you the fruits of what you're plowing, or rather you're gonna experience the benefits of content creation. It will take time for audiences to find you, for people to get a better understanding of who you are, for people to fall in love with your content and then fall in love with you. And so you need to be sure that whatever you're creating content on is something that you can actually create content for a very, very long time. And then the third question you need to ask yourself in terms of clarity is, are you someone who's comfortable being the face of the content you're creating, or you'd rather have your voice represent who you are? And what essentially I mean is, there are two ways of creating content. You can either have your face, which is mostly seen in video content, pictorial content, carousel content, or you can have your voice, which is mostly seen in blog content, written content, as well as LinkedIn content, because there you don't necessarily have to show your face. So you need to be really clear. Are you comfortable with being the face of this particular brand that you're trying to build on social media through content creation? Or do you just want people to understand your voice? Once done with the first step, the second step is planning. You need to figure out what your plan is going to look like. And the first thing you have to define is your audience, because your audience is going to determine also the platforms that you're going to be present on. And so you really need to get nitty gritty with the details of your audience. What's their age? What are their mannerisms? What do they enjoy? Because essentially what you're trying to do is to build a relationship with people so that they fall in love with you, so much so that they trust you as a content creator. Because with content creation, you're just an opinionated individual who had the audacity to create content on social media, and people just trust you because they believe what you believe. So you need to figure out, what is your audience going to look like, where can you find them, and how you are actually going to build trust with them. Then the second thing you have to do is to build out your content goals. You need to also set goals that are actually measurable, in terms of which pieces of content, or how many pieces of content can you realistically create. How many times can you post on whichever social media platform you're on? How many social media platforms can you actually manage? And how long are you actually going to stick with this until you determine whether this is something you want to do long term or not? And then the third thing, which is essentially the most important thing that people get to before they even think about all these things we've mentioned, is selecting your platforms. Now, remember when I told you you have to reflect and ask yourself, do I want to be the face, or do I just want to share my voice? This is where that decision is going to be important, because there is a platform for every single content creator, whether you're a writer, whether you're an artist, whether you're a videographer, whoever you are, there is a platform for you, because essentially you want to be a content creator who enjoys the process of creating content. That's how you stick with it long term. Now, can we talk about your alignment, or rather your setup? So here are the three things that are going to help you become more aligned, especially if you want to start content creation in 2026. The first thing you have to do is to figure out what is your content strategy going to look like. How are you going to be getting people to follow you? What do you think it in terms of funnels, or leading the people who actually relate to your content towards something that you want to do? Is content creation going to be a money making machine or an additional side hustle? What exactly is content creation going to be for you? Because that is where your content strategy is going to come up from. And if you haven't watched the video where I talked about how to actually build a content strategy from scratch, I am going to include that video right here for you to go and check it out. Once that's done, the second thing that you're gonna do is to figure out what are going to be your tools. Now, if you're someone who's sharing your face, you are going to need a setup. So you're gonna need a camera, because yes, you're gonna take photos, or if you're not taking photos, you're gonna take videos. Then the second thing that you're gonna need is you're gonna need some type of a tripod, because essentially if you're filming yourself, or you don't have someone to film you, you're gonna need you're gonna need a tool that's gonna help you keep the camera steady, because no one likes watching shaky videos. And then the third thing that you're gonna need is you're gonna need an editing software, as well as having a place to script, as well as you're gonna need a hard drive, okay? Because where else are you gonna store your content? If you're someone who is going to be just sharing their voice online, then you are going to need a type of phone or a type of laptop, because essentially you're gonna be writing a lot of the time. Then the second thing that you're gonna need is probably a proofreading tool like Grammarly, or any other tool that you can use to perfect the copywritten content you create. And you're also gonna need a graphics tool. So you can use Canva, you can use Photoshop, InDesign, whatever tool that suits your set of skills. Just make sure you have them at hand. And then the third thing is you need to figure out how many times can you realistically share content online, because depending on the platform that you're on, there is a certain level of expectation each platform has, and each algorithm is different on the social media platforms that exist. So you need to produce enough pieces of content to educate the algorithm as much as possible, so that the algorithm can help you as a beginner content creator find your people, find your tribe. Then once that's done, the next thing is actually setting up your social media profile. Now, based on the social media platform you've selected, the next thing is to actually set your profile up so that people can actually find you, right? So the first thing that you're gonna do is, of course, you're going to open up the account, whether it's on TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, LinkedIn, whichever platform it is. Just make sure you create the account. And then the second thing that you're gonna do is you're gonna set up your profile in terms of, you're gonna put the name there. So whether you want to go with your own name, or you just want to go with the brand name that you're gonna come up with. Then the second thing that you're gonna do is you're gonna set up your username. So make sure your username is memorable. And then the third thing that you're gonna set up is your bio. So you're gonna populate your biography on the section that you're supposed to populate your bio. And then the other thing that you're gonna do is you're gonna link up the links that you'd want people to see. If you're someone who's just getting started, I would really encourage you build up, or you set up your newsletter. Now let's get to the fun stuff, which is actually creating your content. I know you've been waiting to actually do this. Now, the first thing that goes in here is you are going to figure out when you are actually going to be creating your content, because essentially if this is something you want to do, and this is something you actually want to be testing out and figuring out if this is something you want to do in the long run, you need to block time in your calendar to actually create your content. Whether you're a videographer, or someone who is just a copywriter on the internet, someone who's just sharing his thoughts or her thoughts on the internet, you have to block out time so that you can actually create these pieces of content. And yes, there's gonna be idea generation, there's gonna be videography, there's gonna be editing, there's gonna be formatting, whatever the process looks like. This is where you actually do it, and it's very, very essential you have the right tools that are gonna help you do that. And if you're stuck, or you even don't know where to get started, I actually did a video talking about how to find content ideas using ChatGPT and how to organize them. And if you haven't watched that video, I'm going to include it here so that you can go and watch it after you've watched this one, because it's going to be taking you through the step-by-step process of how you can actually start finding content ideas and how you can actually validate your content ideas so that you create content that people actually want to do. And then the second thing that goes in here is you are going to set a deadline of how long it's going to take for you to be able to determine if content creation is something you want to do for good. What I essentially mean is you need to put a timeline so that when you're running this content creation experiment, especially if you're beginning, whether this is something you actually love or this is something that you are just following the hype around, because the people who are going to stick around with content creation are going to be the people who enjoy creating content in the first place. So if you want to be like me, who is not being paid to actually share this information with you, someone who really enjoys content creation, then you need to test the waters. Is this something you enjoy? And the best thing that you're going to do for yourself is to set a deadline, and then after that deadline has been reached, you sit down, you review, and you see, and you weigh your options. Is this something you want to do? Or is this something that you are just following the trend for? And so that is it with this particular video. I'm hoping that you guys liked it and found it helpful. If you did, make sure to give me a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. I really hope you guys had a nice holiday. Happy New Year 2026, and I can't wait to see what you guys do with content creation this year. If you have any questions with regards to content creation, social media strategy, positioning, systems, processes, whatever it is, let me know in the comment section, because I would love to do those videos for you, especially this year. Now, if you haven't yet watched a video I did about how to create your content workflow, if you're someone who's serious about content creation, I would highly recommend you checking out that video so that you stay consistent and you actually stay accountable in terms of creating content and have a streamlined workflow of how you release each piece of content you're gonna do this year. I'm gonna link that video down here, or I'm going to link that video somewhere here, and I am going to see you in that particular video.